What's going on?
Oh, yeah, baby. It's that time again. It is that time, episode 5. My days, we are flying through this at the minute. This is great. I've got some more tunes to listen to. I've got some more rubbish to talk. So let's waste no time and jump straight into it. So, whether you're new around here or you're a returning listener, welcome to Zoo's Reviews, the podcast where we discuss the latest and greatest in music, movies, and media. If I find it cool or interesting, then I'm going to talk about it. Simple as that. Every single month, listeners are invited to submit their own music for review on the show. All you have to do is send me your links on Instagram at official_Zurra. If you don't make music but you still want to contribute to the show, you're more than welcome to send through some quick fire topics which we will tackle at the end of each episode. Quick bit of housekeeping before we get the ball rolling. If you're listening to this via YouTube, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It really does help the channel. And the bigger the channel gets, eventually we'll start doing these as videos as well. And obviously we'll be able to get bigger podcast guests and stuff like that. So yeah, any contribution towards that would mean the world. So like the video, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, share it with a friend. If you're listening via Spotify, please consider following the podcast on Spotify and adding it to your favorites as well. And if you're listening to this on SoundCloud, just don't listen to it on SoundCloud. Listen to it on YouTube or Spotify. SoundCloud's whack, but I do whack it up there just in case. Just in case. But if you are one of those people, please hit the like, maybe even repost. Who knows? But yeah, we got that out of the way. So what's new? Life's been kicking recently, honestly. It feels like it's just been balls to the wall, non-stop action. I'm going on holiday to Marmaris in a few days, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going away with the in-laws, and we've been to. Tell you what, we've been to Marmaris before, as a family, and it's just wild. Like the Turkish people are absolutely incredible. Turkish and Kurdish, because there's quite a big Kurdish community out there as well, of course. Um, the people are lovely. The place that we stay, they've got the best entertainment staff, holiday staff there that I've ever experienced. The food is always 10 out of 10. And yeah, I'm so excited to go back. We're going a little bit earlier than we have done in the past. Previously, we've been in June and May. Now we're going in April. So it won't quite be as hot as it has been in previous times, but I'm still looking forward to just doing nothing for a week, just sitting in the sun, letting the UV rays fry my cells to pieces, um, and just chilling, just not worrying about work for a while, and just kind of taking a break from DJing and making music because I've been cooking. I've been spending so much time in the studio recently, making by far the best music I've ever made. Um, and it will probably surprise you that 90% of what I've been making recently isn't tech house. So yeah, and it's way better than anything I've ever made. So yeah, for whatever reason recently I've just been channeling something. Wherever these cool ideas come from, like I've been channeling it and just kind of, going balls to the wall in the studio. And I'm really, really excited. I've got some cool vocalists and singers and songwriters that are jumping in the studio with me at some point soon as well. Going to go down to London for a few sessions with some really, really super established vocalists as well. Some like legacy acts from like the late 90s, early 2000s. So to get some like legends on some of these instrumentals that I've been making recently is going to be huge. And I'm super excited for you guys to hear it. The only thing is, you're probably going to have to wait at least a year to hear some of this stuff. That's just the way things work. Whenever you make something new, it's very rare that that comes out like, within a reasonable time. Unless you have the dream team by your side and they are pitching while you're still making it. But, what's the point in that? So yeah, I want to get these wrapped up, polished, make them the best that they can possibly be. But yeah, that does mean that you won't hear it for about a year, maybe even two. I mean, could even be three. I've held on to demos for longer than 3 years before. I've actually got a tune coming out in May, which I made back in 2021. Figure that one out, and I'm super excited because it still holds up. The production quality is good. So yeah, it won't feel out of place compared to everything else I'm releasing. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit closer to the time. I've still got another single coming out before that, which is actually going to come out while I'm in Marmaris, while I'm in Turkey. So that's what time is it? Coming out on Vivify Records. I spoke about it in the last episode. Didn't go into too much depth. Just said that I was super excited. I think that this is a kind of a step in the right direction of where I'm going musically. Let's put it that way. So, still that kind of bouncy tech house sound, but we're starting to introduce more musical elements, things that are making it more interesting. Yeah, I think you guys are going to really, really like it. Really, really like it. It's got a retro feel to it as well. Like, it doesn't necessarily sound like something that's come out in the 2000s. It does sound like it could have that kind of vintage feel to it, like that old school house vibe. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys to hear that, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear what I've been cooking recently. But yeah, there'll be a little bit of a hold on that for the time being, anyway. But yeah, life's been good. Life's been good. Jamming away in the studio, playing some cool gigs. Bank holiday weekends coming up. I've got a gig in Bath on the Saturday, which I'm really looking forward to. Potentially even a last minute one in Bristol on Saturday daytime. Still waiting to find out about that. But yeah, you'll see it on my socials if that one comes through. And then once I get back from Marmaris, I've got yeah, a couple of shows in London, which I'm really looking forward to announcing. Can't say anything about that yet, but it'll be Shoreditch and Balham. So yeah, if you're listening and you're from those areas, keep your eyes peeled. I will be back in Exeter at Bomba on the next bank holiday weekend, which is in May. Really excited for that. That'll be on the Sunday, the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. And then I'll be making my debut in Cardiff, which I'm super, super excited about as well, and Plymouth. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up in April and May. So keep your eyes peeled, because if I'm coming to a town near you, then you know what to do. Now, I'm going to start by getting into something that I watched over the weekend, which you know what? Like, I've spoke about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the podcast before, and I did say that I wouldn't really touch on that again. And this is kind of it's kind of related to martial arts, right? I'm a huge fan of the UFC. And at the weekend I watched UFC 314, and I wanted to talk about it because I know that there's a few people that follow me that are into MMA as well. There are obviously some people that think MMA is absolutely barbaric that are on my Instagram and my YouTube and stuff like that. So this might not necessarily be for you, but if you like sports, like this is going to be more of a kind of like this is going to be more of a deep dive into sport rather than just MMA, because I don't know, like I just think that there is no more honest competition on the planet than two people stepping into a cage and basically fighting to the death. Um, saying that though, no one has ever died in the UFC. Not a single UFC fighter has died as a result of what they do in the ring, right? In the cage, sorry. Whereas in boxing, you see deaths being announced in boxing all the time, like a bleed on the brain and then they die a couple of days later and stuff like that. So I understand people that don't like combat sports because it can be barbaric. The way I look at it is they're the modern day gladiators. Um, and it takes a huge set of balls to step into a ring with another human being with the intention of knocking them unconscious, and they have the same intentions back. It's terrifying. Terrifying. So anyone that gets in there, regardless of their record, regardless of their status, just the highest of respect from me. So UFC 314 happened over the weekend, and there were two fights on that card, which I was super, super excited for. The co-main and the main event. There were some other bangers on there as well, to be fair. There were some other bangers, but really, Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler and Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. They're the reason you're watching that. Can't lie though, Yair Rodriguez, he put on an absolute, he put on a wicked performance. And Gene Silver, oh my days! Right, let me talk about Gene Silver real quick because I've never seen anyone pull off a ninja choke in the UFC. A ninja choke is one of my favorite submissions in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I manage to land them all the time because you can set it up as something else, and then the person will do the right thing to defend, but then you've set the ninja choke up. So I'm not going to get into the ins and outs, but if you like your MMA and you like your jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and you like seeing good submission finishes, Gene Silver put Bryce Mitchell to sleep, and that was a super, super tight ninja choke as well. I've never seen it done the way he did it either, but as soon as he got his arms in the position and I saw that configuration, I was like, damn, that's a ninja choke. Oh my days. I've never seen one in the UFC before. So yeah, that was incredible to see. I wasn't expecting that at all, but yeah, great finish, great finish. Like I said, the next fight was Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. Yeah, another wicked performance from Yair Rodriguez. You know, he just seems to pop up with, you know, he's just so tough. This is the thing. He's just a tough dude. Doesn't matter what you throw at him, he weathers the storm. And you know, it was a decision win, so you know, not the most exciting of things, but like he still brought the fireworks, which I really love watching. So let's talk about Paddy Pimblett, right? So if you are a British MMA fan, you should be supporting Paddy Pimblett because he's the new superstar guy in the UFC. We're really lucky at the minute. We've got Tom Aspinall, who's the IC champion in heavyweight as well, and we got Paddy Pimblett. So we've got some stars. Like the UK have always produced like big stars in combat sports, but now UFC more than boxing, right? British boxing seems to be taking a little bit of a dip, but luckily we've got a couple of MMA guys to make up for that. So Paddy Pimblett. Now, there's a big question mark going into this fight. You know, can he produce against like a top tier guy, like a high ranking guy? I think Michael Chandler before this fight was ranked seventh in the division. I think they're lightweight. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. Lightweight. Yeah, they're lightweight. So yeah, he was ranked like seventh. Paddy was like 15th, something like that. So Paddy had only just become a ranked fighter, and that's always interesting because you know sometimes you become ranked, then you lose against someone who's higher in the rankings than you, and then you lose your ranking straight away, which means that you're basically like, you know, you're back to square one. You got to work to get yourself back in that ranking position. So Paddy's just become a ranked fighter. And a lot of people said that he couldn't even achieve that. You know, he's got a lot of haters, which I don't understand. It's all British people as well. It's like you don't want to see a Brit succeed. I don't know. I don't get that mentality at all. But Paddy he's surprised people so far. Now I've got to be honest. I don't like watching him trade with people. I don't like watching him standing there and trying to box his way out of situations because I mean credit where credit's due. His striking in this fight against Michael Chandler was way better than I've ever seen it before. His striking was fantastic, but his chin is so high all the time. He is just waiting to get knocked out. It's scary. Um, and I mean, you go up against someone like Michael Chandler who can really mix it up. You know, he's got good wrestling, but he's got these crazy flurries where he just goes in like a berserker. So Michael Chandler is not one to be sneezed at, even though he's had quite a few losses in the UFC. He's always put on super entertaining fights and he always looks super dangerous. Paddy, he's kind of been not protected, but like he's kind of cherry picked fights. And there was one fight early in his UFC career where you could argue that he lost it, but still got the decision. I think that that's probably because of the hype train. But anyway, massive question mark next to Paddy's name going into this fight. Can he do it against a high ranking opponent? And the answer is yes. He made it look easy. He made it look easy. And it was scary, man, because Michael Chandler has been in some absolute wars since joining the UFC. I think the only person he beat was Tony Ferguson, and I think that knockout is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I've never seen a human being's face change so much in literally a split second. Other than that, he's been in some mental fights. I think Dustin. Just trying to think who else. Charles Oliveira twice. Trying to think who else. I can't remember. But he has been straight in there with the best in the world. Like, he came over from Bellator. Everyone's always like, oh yeah, Bellator's a bit of a secondary promotion kind of thing. But he came in and, he's clearly world class. Clearly world class. But Paddy absolutely disposed of him. Like, it was not close at all. For those who don't know, Paddy is more of a grappler. He's more of a jiu-jitsu guy. And yeah, he was crawling all over his back and stuff like that. He was doing all the right things in the grappling exchanges, but really where he impressed was the striking. I was super impressed. Anyway, he got a TKO victory in the third round. And yeah, Michael Chandler, dude, I think it's time to hang the gloves up, man. It's a shame because you're so entertaining, but please, like, think about your long-term health. You've took some nasty finishes since coming to the UFC, so I wouldn't be surprised if a retirement was on the cards. But Paddy Pimblett, going up the rankings, who knows who he's going to face next? I'm not entirely sure because that division is so stacked. It's scary how stacked that division is, but we'll have to wait and see. Massive, massive W for Paddy Pimblett. And then the main event, I got a little bit emotional watching this because there's something about Alexander Volkanovski that you just want to root for him because like he's just such a likable dude. And like if I think he used to be a rugby player before, so obviously he's got that kind of killer instinct, that competitive nature in him. But if you take him out of a sporting environment, I guarantee he's just going to be like the absolute geezer that everyone wants to be friends with, you know. I mean, he is anyway, but like, you know, if he was a normal bloke, you know, that you just see down the pub or whatever, he would be like the one that everyone kind of gravitates towards, you know. Just such a lovely dude. And he was fighting against Diego Lopez, who is an absolute killer. He was very emotional after losing, and it was just great to see Alexander Volkanovski get a win. It was a decision, of course, but just to get a win, you know, he's back on top, and I love that because Volk has not had it easy over the past couple of years. He's been very open with his battles with mental health and stuff like that, which I think is fantastic when you have someone so dominant in such an alpha male kind of sport openly get emotional and discuss their mental health. I think that that's really powerful and actually helps a lot of young men come to terms with their own feelings. So we need more male role models like Alexander Volkanovski in the sport, and Paddy Pimblett. He's been very vocal about men's mental health as well. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people will look at the sport, they'll look at what takes place in the cage, and they'll think, oh, you know, they're just a bunch of savages. But you know, these dudes are hyper intelligent, you know, and the female fighters as well. They're all incredible athletes. They're all very, you know, it's a very macho sport, but they're all very vulnerable. They're very real people. So if even if it's not your cup of tea, you've got to respect the athleticism. You've got to appreciate how um you know, open they can be and stuff like that, like their vulnerabilities. It's just for me, there's no. This is the most honest form of competition on the planet, and that's why I love watching it because the best fight the best, and anything can happen. Um, and yeah, it's just incredible. So anyway, that was my quick little rundown of UFC 314. I absolutely loved it. Great to see Volk back on top. Amazing to see Paddy Pimblett doing his thing. And Gene Silver, I mean, come on, dude. Getting a ninja choke. Getting a ninja choke finish in the UFC. That's wild. This gets 4 out of 5 zoos from me because it was a wicked card from top to bottom. Yeah, really looking forward to some more action from Paddy and Volk moving forward. So there we go. Cool. So we're going to get into the music reviews now. So got some fresh submissions from some fresh artists and some returning artists as well. So we're going to start with something a little bit different. I've been told that this is kind of like lo-fi hip hop kind of goodness from MaxTheBeatMaker. This one is titled Spark Up Nostalgia. Let's get into it. Boom bappy drums, always a winner with me. For those who don't know, I actually started in music as a hip-hop MC, so it's really nice to hear some kind of like boom bappy action going on here. Nice use of samples and stuff like that, really cutting it up. Those Rhodes keys sound really, really cool. Very glittery. It's nice to hear like it's nice to hear how the kind of like layers are like, you know, evolving and stuff like that. This is really nice, man. This is really nice. You know what? I can see that there's a bit of a dropout in a sec, so once we reach the dropout, I'm going to start bringing it down slightly. but it's nice to hear this, like, in the context of it being an instrumental rather than having an MC over the top of it at the moment, because you can hear more going on with the production. Cool. I'm going to start bringing it down now, but yeah, we'll get into it in just a sec. Cool. MaxTheBeatMaker with Spark Up Nostalgia. Gotta be honest, mate, I am a fan. I am a fan. That is really, really cool. And it does exactly what it says on the tin, mate. You know, there's a real nostalgia factor to it, which kind of, I don't know, it unlocks something in me, you know? Like, it made me want to start spitting some bars. I gotta be 100% honest. Like, this is a really cool beat. So yeah, I suppose, like I said, it's good to hear this in as an instrumental rather than with an MC over the top. Although I would love to hear someone absolutely kill this because it's a wicked beat, kind of giving me some Jay Dilla vibes. So yeah, very glittery. Love the Rhodes action in there. The drums sound really dusty, which is what you want from that kind of boom bappy sound. Um, yeah, it's really it's hard to critique, but also like, you know, yeah, because this is a beat for, so this isn't the finished product. Like, I suppose that's why I'm finding it a little bit hard to critique, because obviously there will be a rapper on here at some point. At the moment, it's just the instrumental, which is really cool, so that I could really listen to the production side of things. But yeah, it's hard to critique it as a whole without there being that final piece of the puzzle there. But anyway, I thought that you'd really captured the kind of the old school hip hop aesthetic. Sound wise, you know, sonically it's really dusty, which I love. It just kind of gives it that old school aesthetic. Even though I can see from the link that you sent me that it was uploaded 5 days ago. It really does feel like something that was made on a sampler back in the 90s. So you've perfectly captured that dusty aesthetic, which a lot of old school hip hop had. Mainly because they stole, not stole, sampled from everything else that had come previously. You know, they were taking drums from funk records, and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly how you've made this. I'm assuming you haven't made it on a sampler. If you had, that, you know, that's cool. But and you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be made on a sampler, but like, it really does sound like it's been made on a sampler. Which, if you just made it in Logic or if you made it in a DAW, like, that's really cool that you've emulated that sound so well. Um there's not really much that I can think of in terms of like constructive criticism. I suppose um yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, you know. Sometimes instrumentals can be super empty, and when you're listening to it without a rapper on, it can still kind of sound like something's missing. But with this, even though obviously, yes, it is missing an MC over the top, the instrumental itself is really padded out, and you know, it evolves. You know, there's a clear distinction between sections and stuff like that, which is really hard to do with a hip hop beat that doesn't have an MC on, because usually they're the ones that dictate the different sections of the tune. You know, like, there you go from a verse to a hook, verse to hook, blah blah blah. So from that point of view, this is really well produced, really really well produced. Oh man, if I was still a hip hop MC, mate, I would get this. I'd get this beat and murder it. Let me just tell you, because it's cool, man. It's making me really want to just jump in a cipher with, like, you know, 7 or 8 other MCs and yeah, just talk rubbish. But yeah, I'm gonna give this 4 out of 5 zoos, mate. This is really cool, really really cool, and I am definitely gonna check out the other beats that you've got available, mate. Also, I know loads of hip hop MCs, mate. So if you're ever struggling for collaborations, dude, I can hook you up. I can put you in touch with people, or I can fire them in your direction, because if you've got them for sale, you know, easy money, mate, easy money. But yeah, 4 out of 5 zoos. That was Spark Up Nostalgia by MaxTheBeatMaker. Thank you so much for sending that in, mate. A nice welcome. You know, switch up of flavors. You know, we get a lot of dance music, so to hear some lo-fi hip hop, that's a very welcome change, mate. Very, very welcome change, and hopefully that's the first of many. So yeah, wicked. Thank you very much for sending that through, Max. Now, the next one we've got here. Okay, cool. So this looks like it's going to be kind of UKG vibes, from Reecess and Construct. So this is a free download available now called Playground. They're both part of the Audio Wave Records collective. I recently, actually, it was the first episode I reviewed Construct's remix of About Damn Time by Lizzo. I believe he got 3 out of 5 zoos for that. But yeah, now he's teaming up with Reecess for an original title Playground. Let's check it out. Oh, nice, cool. Liking this already. Liking this already. Nice DJ vocal tag there as well. Classic UKG delay on the vocal there. That sounds cool. Typical extended mix intro, all that good malarkey. Just makes it easier for us DJs to mix it in. So, proper ravey. I like this, man. I like this. This is great so far, boys. So that ravey organ, it doesn't actually hit. It's weird, that melody, almost like the notes, they work, but they're not an obvious choice at all. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that big time. Yeah, not an obvious choice with the melody on that organ at all. But yeah, it's exciting. It's original. Oh, here we go.
You hear is not a test. How many MCs must get this?
1p. 1p.
Check this out.
Yeah, this is heavy. This is heavy. Love those little fills and stuff that you got with the organs and stuff. Oh, man, variation. Damn, boys, this is sick. Boys! Oh, dude. Right, okay, cool. I'm just conscious of time, so I'm going to start bringing it down, but... Damn. Okay, cool. So, Reecess, Construct, Playground, out now, free download on SoundCloud. If you're a UKG person and you're listening to this and you like that, go grab it. It's free. Why not? Cool. So, lot to dissect there. What I really like about this is that it takes a lot of inspiration from a lot of different kind of like ravey. There's a lot of different ravey influences in it, and that's what I'm trying to say. So you've obviously got the big kind of womps on the drop section. You got the wicked organ action, loads of like, you know, vinyl scratches, like cool ravey stabs, lots of good variation as well. People that listen to this and they hear me say the word variation a lot, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You guys have nailed the variation. No 4 bars or no 8 bars are the same. And that's super important to keep the listener engaged. So I really enjoyed this, lads. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, with the melody, with the organ, that it wasn't going where I was expecting the melody to go. Like the notes worked, the melody worked, but it wasn't an obvious choice in terms of like, you know, what notes you were hitting. So that for me, from a listener point of view, I was just like, okay, that's pretty interesting. Because yeah, I don't know. It's really hard for me to explain that without sounding like a complete freak. But yeah, the notes didn't go where I thought it was going to go. So that's really cool. Really, really cool. Yeah. What is there to say? What is there to say? Okay. I think Still, I think that the drums are a little bit flat. I think that the drums need to hit a lot harder, especially because you've got big womps in the drop section. So the drums really need to meet that energy. Um, you don't have to have full tear out drums that are absolutely smashing here, there, and everywhere, but you do need to have a level of like, okay, if my main bass in the drop section is going to do this, my drums need to do this. And at the moment, the womps are really overpowering the drums. I even kind of felt it in the intro section when there weren't any womps. The drums just felt a little bit flat to me. Um, they could do with beefing up, I think, definitely. I also think that sound design could be looked at as well. So the womps are cool, but I think that there's a version of this track where the womps are different, right? So you can also play around with things like attack time on your womps and stuff like that, so that when you're, rather than when you're doing those like long womps, you can have like the attack time as it is. But when you're doing like notes in quick succession using that bass sound, you can, you can decrease the attack time so that they hit a little bit quicker and stuff like that. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but sound design I think is where this could be improved as well. So sound design, and I think the drums really need picking up. They're just falling a little bit flat compared to everything else in the mix at the moment. But what I will say is that there's a lot of original ideas in here, which is hard nowadays as producers. Like, it's hard to come up with anything new, original, and exciting when almost everything's been done always. So I'm gonna give this 4 out of 5 zoos. It's really cool. I really like it. Yeah, for me, sound design really worth looking at sound design, because it's the womps. I think that you can get kind of cleaner sounding womps that will not necessarily dirty up the mix. And I think it will also complement the drums as well. If you want to keep the drums that you got going on in there, because everything's super tight, then I don't think have as big a tear out womp as you've got. So it's a balancing that between having the drums that you got at the moment, and maybe bringing the womp down so that it's maybe a bit more filtered, so that it's not as gritty, or bring the drums up to match the heaviness and the grittiness of the main sounds you got in the drop. I hope that makes sense, lads. But really well done. 4 out of 5 zoos from me. That was Playground by Construct and Reecess, out right now for free download on their SoundCloud page. So we're going to get into the final one, which is from, let me have a little look. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So the final submission that we've got for this episode is actually a UKG flip of Don't Wake Me Up by James Hype. This time it's from Aspect and friend of the show, Alpha J. Let's get into it. Don't wake me up. Catching a vibe for this one already. The drums are great. Proper UKG action already. Love the atmospherics just sitting in the background as well. This tune is huge at the minute as well, so it needs like a very different kind of remix. Vocals dope, man. This vocal really works with those UKG drums. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Nice. Man. This is giving me like MJ Cole vibes. Those chords, the strings. This is so cool. Those strings and those chords are pure garage. This is really cool. This is really, really cool. Like I said, there definitely needs to be like a remix like this, an official remix like this out there for this kind of track. The original is so big at the moment that to have like a UKG vibe like this, I don't know, I think it would complement the original release like massively. Boys, send this to James. Send this to James. Like, this could easily be an official remix. I can't believe how much this sounds like MJ Cole. The production's great. See, everything on the low end sounds great as well. You've got a good combination of like the Reecess action, the womps. This is so well done. So well done. I'm going to start bringing it down now, boys, because it looks like it's just coming up to the outro anyway. So I'm going to start bringing it down and we'll get into it. Aspect and Alpha J with their UKG flip of Don't Wake Me Up by James Hype. Now, I did not know what to expect when I pressed play there, and that completely exceeded expectations. That is a wicked remix, bootleg, UKG flip, whatever you want to call it. That's awesome. That's really, really sick. Proper, like, you guys understand garage because like the chords, the strings, like I kept saying, like it's just giving me MJ Cole. It's giving me, all those kinds of flavors, and yeah, this should or could easily be an official remix. Send it to him. I know you guys are tight with James. Send it to him. He needs to check this out because this is awesome. Drums were great. Could maybe hit a little bit harder. I gotta be honest. Like, there's something about the kick that's not quite slapping for me. But yeah, the drums sound really cool. Loved the. I can tell that obviously the acapella's been. Obviously, if this did become an official remix or something like that, then you wouldn't necessarily hear the dun 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 dun, the lead melody from the original in the background. But obviously, that's kind of like bled through because I think that this is maybe from the mashup or it's a DIY a cappella or something. So that's kind of bled through the recording. But yeah, I think that when that kind of pokes through a little bit, it kind of takes away from it. But obviously, that's not your fault. that can't be helped. But yeah, this is really, really cool. So cool. I would play this in my sets. I've started playing a lot of UKG in my sets, and especially now that the summer's coming out as well. Like, I think people don't necessarily always want to hear these big room bangers all the time. They want to hear something that's a little bit more stripped back, a little bit more groovy. Obviously, this tune is hot at the moment, but maybe people want to hear it in a new and exciting way. So I don't know. This ticks a lot of boxes for me, boys. This ticks a lot of boxes. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 zoos. It's very, very nearly perfect. I think that there's just a few things that slightly let it down. Some that are in your control, but some that aren't. So, but like I said, keep sending to James. Drums sound good. Kick doesn't quite do it for me. That needs a little bit more kind of pop to it. That UKG kind of like sounds super punchy. The kicks, almost like a laser. And also just like the bleed from the lead from the original is kind of leaking through into the acapella. Again, I don't know how much you can influence that, so it is what it is. But 4.5 out of 5 zoos. All the music on this week's episode has been super high quality. So yeah, well done. That was Aspect and Alpha J's UKG flip of Don't Wake Me Up by James Hype. Damn. I love that. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much to everyone who sent music in for this episode. We're going to be reviewing a whole bunch more music. So yeah, add your music to the queue. If you are a producer and you are listening right now, get your stuff sent over to me at official_Zurra on Instagram or wherever you can get me, to be fair. Like, a lot of this stuff gets sent to me via WhatsApp, via Facebook, via Discord. I've even had people send links to me in the comments on YouTube as well. So, whatever. However you can get your music to me. If you want me to listen to it and review it, offer some constructive criticism, some feedback, more than happy to do so. Just send it to me and we'll get it done. Cool. So, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things before we get into the listener topic. So the first thing was I did a recent campaign with Honda, which was pretty cool. So a good friend of mine from my university days, John Hack. He works as part of the social media team at Honda, and they are doing a campaign to promote their new series of Superbike. I believe it's the CBR 1000. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not a motorbike guy at all, which is why, like, I really wanted to make sure I was getting this right because I didn't want to come across like someone who was just kind of doing it for a quick cash grab because that wasn't it at all. I wanted to be invested in the campaign, and I learned a lot about motorbikes in the process as well. Like, I've never ridden a well, actually I have ridden a motorbike, mini moto, and my friend's motocross bike as well when I was a lot younger. But other than that, I've always thought, these guys look like the Power Rangers, like when they're just flying past on the motorway and stuff like that. But damn, honestly, like I as soon as I got the brief through, they basically said, look, we want to team up with a music producer who can make some music to kind of help elevate our promotion efforts for this new series of bikes that we're bringing out. So they got the Hornet, which is like the Hornet is more like the user friendly, the consumer kind of bike, and then you got like the Super Sport CBR 1000. So they needed two different flavors, so I sent them two different tracks. Well, in fact, I sent them a whole playlist of tracks, and we narrowed it down to two, one for each one. So the Hornet, I wanted it to be more kind of people focused with the music that I was like giving them. So I wanted it to be a little bit more commercially crossover appealy. So I gave them a track which I've been playing in my sets, but it's probably never going to come out. It's called Ready to Go. So if you want to hear Ready to Go, the only place you'll ever be able to hear it, other than coming to see me play live, is on Honda Motorcycles TikTok page right now. So that's called Ready to Go. It's, a bit of a kind of crossover tech house track. It's got a bit of commercial appeal to it. And then the one that I posted on my TikTok page for Honda was for the CBR 1000. So that's the super sport bike. And damn, that shit bangs, honestly. I gave them my single from February this year, non-stop. And so far, I think we're on like 5 million views on TikTok, which is mental, like absolutely mental. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now I don't know how royalties work on TikTok because obviously that's 5 million people listening to my tune. But it's not translating to Spotify. So I want to make sure I'm getting some stacks for that. But no, it was really cool to be a part of something like that. Obviously teaming up with a huge brand like Honda for a social media campaign, awesome, absolutely loved it. And yeah, hopefully it's not the end of the relationship. I'd love to continue working with them. I want to say a massive thank you to my boy John for hooking that up. We haven't spoken for a long time, and he's very complimentary on the stuff that I'm doing. And he said that the first thing that came to my head when they said that they were looking to work with the music producer was you. So the fact that we hadn't spoken in a few years and then we reconnected through that was amazing for me. Very humbling as well to be kind of thought of in that light. So thank you, John. Thank you, Honda. And if you're into your motorbikes, check out the CBR 1000 and the new Hornet. Honestly, they're wicked. They're absolutely wicked. And if anything was going to make me become a motorbike person, it would be these bikes. So yeah, check them out. Cool. So I'm going to get into a little review of a film that I decided to revisit recently because I was told to revisit it by my dad. So, for those who don't know, I mean, I'm a massive sci-fi nerd. Massive sci-fi nerd. Comic books, sci-fi, those two things, I could literally speak all day, every day about it because I love it so much, right? And for me, top three, maybe even my number one sci-fi film of all time is The Matrix. The Matrix is phenomenal. From start to finish, the first film is perfect. 10 out of 10. And I don't think there'll be many people that can, like, that can say anything bad about that first film. It was perfect. I think at the time it was seen as a kind of a modern retelling of the story of Jesus Christ. It has, in hindsight, people are looking at it as more of a metaphor for coming out as trans, which I find quite interesting because the Wachowski brothers, who at the time were the Wachowski brothers, they're both now transitioned, so they're now trans women, the Wachowski sisters. So it would make sense that that's actually the hidden message behind the Matrix. Um, But yeah, I the first one for me is perfect, absolutely perfect. The second one, not that good. I think there was a lot of cool stuff in it, but the third one for me redeemed the trilogy. So, so what film did I decide to rewatch recently? Well, I decided to rewatch the fourth Matrix, Matrix Resurrections. I went to see this in the cinema with my dad and my brother-in-law Michael. Actually, that night, my brother-in-law Michael asked me and my dad if he could marry Colette, my sister. So I think he was trying to warm us up by taking us to the cinema because he knows that we love the cinema, right? So he wanted to take us to see the new Matrix and then ask the question and keep us sweet kind of thing. Um, but I'll be honest, when I saw this the first time round, I came out and I was angry because I didn't like it. Now my dad's rewatched it since, and he said, "You know what? Just go in with an open mind, rewatch it. I've given it more of a chance, and I think if you give it a chance, you'll get something out of it." So I decided to rewatch it. Um, this is the biggest piece of dog shit I've ever watched. Single-handedly, the worst film I've ever seen. I mean, and it's not even close. Like this is dog shit. It's so bad. Listen, this podcast isn't monetizable at the moment, so I have no problem swearing. Like, I have no problem letting you guys know exactly how I feel about this film. This is fucking awful. It's catastrophic. Um, this film's been out for a few years now, so if you haven't seen it, here's a quick little spoiler warning, but also don't bother watching this film. Like this film shits all over all the good stuff that the original trilogy did. It's bullshit. It's fucking terrible. I'm gonna cut the bullshit now. Like there's no suspense. This is where the review's going. 0 out of 5 zoos. Okay, so this film is so bad. Right, so if you've seen the original trilogy, it's pretty monumental in the world of sci-fi. The Matrix trilogy is pretty fucking monumental. It had a lot of original ideas, a lot of things that had never been done before in cinema. So there was a lot of technological breakthroughs and stuff like that. So how does the fourth one start after so long away from this franchise? Obviously, Neo is such a beloved character. Like all of them are Morpheus, Trinity, like the core staple characters, like there's people go to Comic-Con dressed as them, this is pop culture we're talking about. This is like anyway, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I feel very passionately about the Matrix. Especially that first film. That's, the perfect movie in my eyes. So how do they revisit this world? Well, they start by having Neo in therapy, right? I've got no problem with anyone going to therapy. I encourage people to go to therapy. I wish that it was more. Um, I wish that it was more kind of like there was less stigma around it. Because if you tell someone that you're seeing a therapist, first thing they ask is, "What's wrong?" There doesn't need to be anything wrong for you to go and see a therapist. So actually, opening it up with Neo in therapy, I was like, "Huh, okay, cool." So he's talking to his therapist and stuff like that, and he's kind of he's not sure of who he is, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, interesting, interesting. Anyway, comes out of his therapy session, someone stops him, and they're like, oh, hey, that trilogy that you made. Well, the studio wants you to make a fourth one. Okay, say that again. Say that one more time. Someone goes up to Neo, the main character of the Matrix movies, says, hey, congratulations on the successful trilogy. The studio wants you to make a fourth one. What are you trying to fucking do, by the way? Are you trying to be cute? Are you trying to be like super meta and self-aware? Like, no, that's not how this world operates. Like, that's never ever like there's never been anything meta or self-aware about the Matrix. Like the Matrix has always kind of taken place in this world, like it's never been self-aware, it's never been meta. Why are you doing it now? So basically, Neo's character goes from being the fucking savior of the universe to just some guy who works for a video game company who's made a successful video game trilogy based on the events of The Matrix. And now Warner Brothers, the studio that makes the Matrix movies, have asked him to make a fourth one. What the fuck? This is basically the conversation that happened at Warner Brothers when one of the Wachowski sisters took. I just feel like this is maybe how the conversation went between Warner Brothers and whatever Wachowski sister it was that made this one. They were probably like, we need to make a fourth one. Or we need you to make a fourth one. Chucked them a load of money. There you go. Anyway, super meta, super on the nose. Now, eventually that kind of comes unraveled, and then it's like, oh yeah, this is actually a trick by the architect who's basically trying to warp the reality of Neo so that he doesn't realize who he is, and then he goes back into the Matrix, and then it's like, well, hang about, like, wait, what? So like, and then everything that happens is like, it's just nostalgia bait. It's like, hey, do you remember this? Do you remember this from the Matrix 1? Do you remember this scene from the Matrix 2? Do you remember this scene from the Matrix 3? And so, like, the Neo, like, he finds Morpheus. He goes back into that. By the way, Morpheus is not played by the same person, which I thought, what? Like, again, I just don't get it. I didn't get it. If someone can explain what this movie was trying to go for to me, so that I can understand it, bring it on. But this is bullshit. Like, Morpheus isn't played by the same person. Trinity is in the film. She's now the one. Now, I don't know if you've seen The Matrix, but Neo was the one. So if she's now the one, that means that there's two the ones. Does that make them the twos? I don't fucking know. Anyway, this movie's bullshit. I mean, I've tried so hard to look at it from as many points of view, as many angles as I can, and I still can't figure out what the fuck they were trying to do with this film. Um, I could honestly spend the next hour rambling about it because it's that fucking bad. The fight scenes are dog shit. All the action scenes are bollocks. Bullet time's been changed. The laws of bullet time have fucking changed. It's like the Force. Like, you don't fuck with bullet time the same way you don't fuck with the Force, even though Disney are doing their best at that at the moment. Um, Anyway, look, 0 out of 5 zoos, worst film I've ever seen. I'll die on that hill. If you're a Matrix 4 fan, this is the biggest lump of dog shit I've ever seen in my life. And I've watched Madam Web. I enjoyed Madam Web a million times more than The Matrix Resurrections. Um, Worst film ever. Worst fucking film ever. And there are so many people out there that defend it. But anyway, I'm trying to calm down. I can feel my blood pressure rising. My heart rate is increasing. I'm getting very angry just thinking about the film. 0 out of 5 zoos, Matrix Resurrections. If you haven't seen it, don't fucking bother. It's terrible. If you have seen it, listen, maybe we can start like a group, like a talk group where we can kind of discuss our experiences and be there for each other, because what a fucking load of shit that was. Well, anyway, next time we have a conversation about something that I've watched, hopefully it's something better. But honestly, on my list of things to watch, the next thing that's on my list is Kraven the Hunter. I haven't seen that yet, and I'm not very optimistic about it. I love Spider-Man, I love Marvel. Kraven's such a good character, but I don't have good feelings about this film. So maybe I'll review that one next. Maybe that will take the cake for worst film ever. But so far, for me, Matrix Resurrections is the worst film that exists on the planet right now. Okay, right, we're done. We're done with the Matrix shit. So we're going to get into the listener topics now. We're going to get into the listener topics. So I'm going to get into the first one now, which is from Court ML90. Yes, Court. Hope you're doing good. What do you think of the XDJ AZ? Would you trade your AZ? Would you trade your XZ for one? Thank you very much for sending that in, Court. I just think that Pioneer or Alpha Zeta, whatever they're fucking called now, are just they're just kind of repolishing. I mean, this is, for me, this is no different to the RX series. I can't trade the XZ for an AZ because that actually doesn't belong to me. You'll see it in my live streams and stuff like that. But my friend Charles, who I share the studio with, that's his baby. But I do have an RX3, and I probably would swap it for an AZ. To be fair, it's the latest bit of kit, top of the range. I've been told that it's got quite a few problems, but I honestly I don't know how much that's going to affect things like performance and stuff like that. But yeah, any upgrade is a good upgrade in my book. So yeah, I think it would be a no-brainer to check out the AZ at some point. I haven't had the chance to play with it yet. But there's a lot of cool new features. Again, I don't know how necessary they are. You know, a lot of the time, Pioneer are kind of trying to reinvent the wheel and stuff like that. But yeah, any upgrade for me, I will take. So maybe I'll switch out my RX3 for an AZ at some point. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm just saying a bunch of letters and numbers. It's a new all-in-one DJ controller. That Court is talking about. But it looks cool. Haven't played on it yet, but yeah, I probably would switch out my RX3 for it, given the opportunity. Cool. So we'll get on to the next listener topic. What's your main source of inspiration when it comes to sampling? And that's from my dad, Geordie Guitar. Yes, yes, Dad. Hope you're doing good. When it comes to sampling and stuff like that, to be fair, I don't really have a process. I don't have like a I don't really have a process for it. Like, I will spontaneously hear things where I'm like, I need to use that. And it's not necessarily a track, it's not necessarily a vocal or anything like that. It can sometimes just be something from an advert or, I think most recently I was just listening to something in your car actually, Dad. Chicago. I've got a photo of it still here. I haven't got round to using it yet, but I do plan to. It is Fancy Colors from the album Chicago 2 by Chicago. So, yeah, I just heard that. I heard you playing that in the car, and there was a few like big horns and strings and like a big explosion thing happening at the end of that track, and I thought that would be amazing to sample. So yeah, it just kind of happens, when you hear something and you're like, oh, that's cool. That's I get a lot of enjoyment from that, but not everything really kind of like rings that bell. So like I can listen to music and not feel the need to sample it, but then every now and then I'll hear something and I'm like, I need to use that. My first ever production, I used the intro guitar lick from Eye of the Tiger in it. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I just really love the. I just love that. It's cool. It's just nice. It sounds cool. So every now and then I'll just hear something where I'm like, I should probably use that in my tracks. What did I use recently? Nore. What you gonna do? Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, nothing by Nore. I used the kind of skippy bongos in that recently, and it's like such an insignificant part of the track, right? But I thought that percussion sounds insane and I want it, so I took it. So yeah, to answer your question, I mean, it just kind of comes spontaneously. I'll be listening to something someday and then all of a sudden it'll be like, whoa, I need to use that right now. And then I just don't waste any time. I get onto it straight away. Otherwise, the idea kind of disappears. So I hope that answers your question anyway. And then finally, would you ever consider making other styles of music by Javi Patry? Right. That's a really cool question, Javi, and I'm glad you asked that because I think that I am going to start stepping away from the typical tech house sound that I've been making, to be honest. I think that for me, I think it's starting to run its course a bit. And I think that you know, as an artist, you have to evolve, you have to try new things and adapt and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at the moment. And I talked about like, what I've been doing in the studio recently. I've been having a lot of fun trying different things, playing around with disco, kind of making this like retro 80s sound as well, which is really cool. Um, and yeah, just kind of playing around with different flavors. Now, for people who like my tech house sound, you might hear that and think, oh, what a shame. But obviously, I'm sat on so many demos that the tech house thing I'm going to be releasing for a long time. But the stuff I'm making now is an extension of that. But also an evolution of that. So I'm not just making the stuff that I've been making in recent years. I'm making something new and exciting. And I'm building on the foundation that I created with the tech house sound that I've been making recently. So that then ventures off into things like new disco. That ventures off into things like I don't even know what to call it. Like just 80s kind of. Like, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from the 80s at the moment. Big snares, a lot of reverb, cool synths. So yeah, to answer your question, would I ever consider making other styles of music? Dude, I make other styles of music all the time. They just never get released. I make drum and bass, I make garage, but because that's not what I'm known for, I don't release it. So I end up just sitting on it or giving it to someone else to release, which is often the case. Or I give it to a singer songwriter and maybe give that to them as their own thing, rather than like from a ghost producer point of view. Just actually, get some writing credits on another person's tune. Don't put my name on it, and then they release it and whatever. Um, so yeah, I make loads of different stuff. I make loads of different stuff. A lot of it never sees the light of day, but honestly, the stuff that I've been making recently, it's kind of got me in the mood to write an album. I'll be 100% honest. I had the idea to write an album a few years back when I was doing my Right Mind project, which was like UK based and stuff like that. And I actually got like 14 tracks into what was going to be narrowed down to 12. And I just lost passion for that project. But this stuff I'm making at the moment, I'm telling you, when you hear it, you'll be like, this is different. It's exciting. No one's making music like this. I don't like talking about myself like this, but I'm very excited. Very excited. More excited about music than I have been in a very, very long time. So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled because there's a bunch of different flavors coming later down the line. Cool. So, thank you to everyone who sent a listener topic in. We'll cover some more on the next episode. So we'll just do a quick little recap. So we talked about UFC 314, which was amazing. Amazing to see some of my favorite fighters back on top. So that got 4 out of 5 zoos. Then we got into the music reviews. Max the Beatmaker with Spark Up Nostalgia. That got 4 out of 5 zoos. Recess and Construct with The Playground. That got 4 out of 5 zoos. And then James Hype, Don't Wake Me Up, The Aspect and Alpha J UKG Flip. That got 4.5 out of 5 zoos. Loved it. Talked about my recent campaign with Honda. Then got into my review of The Matrix Resurrections. That got 0 out of 5 zoos. Get out of my fucking life. And then we got into the listener topics, and that is another episode of Zoo's Reviews wrapped up. So, thank you very much for listening. I suppose we're gonna have to reconvene in a couple of weeks once I'm back from Turkey. Once I'm refreshed, who knows? I might have a guest on the next episode. You never ever know. But yeah, I'm gonna be filming these soon. I just need to get myself set up with a decent, camera setup and everything like that. Because as much as I love you guys listening into this, I appreciate it's not much to kind of digest when there's not a video alongside it. So we're gonna get some video going. We are gonna get some video going. It might look a little makeshift at first, but I want this to evolve. And yeah, I'm just very grateful for you to be part of the journey while it's still evolving, while we're still improving and stuff like that. So thank you very much for tuning in as always, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.